Merrimack TV content may no longer be available on YouTube. To continue watching our programs, please download the Merrimack TV app from your device's app store. Programs may also be available at merrimacktv.com.
Good evening. Welcome to the May 5th, 2024 Merrimack School District School Board meeting. Will you join with me to say the Pledge of Allegiance? That was awesome. I appreciated that, you guys. Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction, Amy Doyle, is excused tonight, and we anticipate our student representative, Finn Haddad, to join us shortly. I'd like to open up the floor for public participation. This is at a time when members of the public can come and share their thoughts with the board. If you'd like to share your thoughts with the board, you may come to the microphone and state your name and address, and if you're a student, you do not need to state your address.
My name is Olivia Grobecker. I want to keep the enrichment reading because I'm above my grade level in reading, so it helps me get what I need in reading. It also is fun in so many ways. I also made a poster about my Dogman book in enrichment reading, and I did a presentation about my book. My name is Isaac Bernier, and I am in 4th grade at MES. I am here tonight to talk to you about G&T and why you shouldn't cut it. G&T helps challenge me by providing me more advanced level work that keeps me engaged. It's nice to feel like there are other kids like me whose brains think and process like mine. I like to ask a lot of questions, and it's okay to be curious and hypothesize in G&T. Next year, I will be at JMU's, where they will have wind time. I think wind time should start in 3rd grade at all schools. WIN stands for What I Need, and is important since everyone learns differently and aren't at the same level. For me and my friends at G&T and Enrichment, what I need is to be provided with more advanced materials taught to us in engaging ways that doesn't make us feel different. I was getting to that with Miss Z in G&T, and shouldn't lose it because the grown-ups can't agree on money. I hope you reconsider cutting what I and 200 other students benefit from currently.
I am Jack Kinsley. I'm going to tell you why you should not get rid of G&T. G&T is a great program for people to learn what they are good at. You get to learn things that you don't usually learn in an average class. Sometimes when I am having a bad day or something, I think about the next time I go to G&T and what I might do. Sometimes a teacher may feel stressed when so many kids are everywhere. But when they take some to G&T, the teacher may feel more comfortable. That's why I think G&T should keep going for years to come. And these are over 20 signatures of people that want G&T to stay. I can't get the exact number. I just know it's over 20.
Yeah, you give it right to. Great job.
I am Maddie Castle. We should keep G&T. It is a very educational experience. G&T is a necessary program for kids who need a hard challenge. I have an amazing teacher, but there is no way she can teach all the kids, including the ones who have to get caught up with learning and the ones that need a bigger challenge. G&T has taught me how to persevere and has helped me develop grit that could not have happened in the classroom alone. That's why it is important to keep G&T. Thank you for your time.
Tracy Castle, 9 Grapevine Road. First, thank you everybody who's in this room, especially these students here who are sharing their thoughts and feelings. We appreciate that. And to the board who has a very difficult task at your hands, we appreciate all of your time and consideration. Oh, and I wanted to also say what Maddie shared and all of these other students should be enough, but I'm going to go a little bit further.
Tracy, could you also state your address for the
9
record?
Grapevine Road.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, so I am here to speak about the importance and necessity of keeping the G&T program for the students in the Merrimack School District. At the last board meeting, there was discussion around the legal obligation of the school district. In addition to the legal obligation, the board and the district needs to be considering the ethical obligation. It is unacceptable to focus on what is the bare minimum requirement for the students in Merrimack. As found on the district website, the school board's 2024-2025 mission stated that the Merrimack School District will provide a high-quality, future-driven education to all students in the community. Students will engage in learning opportunities that reflect both rigor and relevance, along with meeting their cognitive, social, and emotional needs. The mission continues on, but for the purpose of tonight, I'm going to stop right there. In order to meet the cognitive, social, and emotional needs of our gifted and talented students, we need to provide them the programs such as the Gifted and Talented Program. At the end of the 2023-2024 school year, Mrs. Doyle provided me the numbers regarding G&T. There were 47 students who met the gifted and talented criteria. 163 students were served with the enrichment opportunities. This totals 210 students in grades 3 through 6. If we divided 210 by 20 students, that equates to just over 10 full classrooms of 20 students. That's a lot of students. At the last board meeting, there was discussion about differentiation and how that could happen in the classroom, but it needs to be organic. And I agree, it could happen in the classroom, but yes, it needs to be organic. The only way to do that is experience, professional opportunities for our educators, and the support that they need. In the meantime, that period between now and it becoming organic, which would be many years, you need to continue to provide the program to the students. They should not be left without the education they need and they deserve in order to meet their full potential. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Christine Kinsley, 46 Jessica Drive. And I want to talk about something from a little different angle, which is what do we get out of this at the end of the day? So as a 1992 Merrimack High School graduate who was in the G&T program, it kept me from being bored, which kept me from getting in trouble. And I find that true with a lot of my friends and other students, that it didn't just keep us from getting bored, it gave us opportunities to engage with other students throughout the school. We worked a lot with the special needs students, which provided a very valuable education, because when you're in the upper levels, particularly in high school, you're siloed and you don't really interact with all of these other kids, but they have a ton to teach you. So at the time I was in high school, the Gifting and Talented program was based on us getting to know other students, getting other students involved, and teaching them as well. I also have a daughter who graduated in 2020, and she just graduated honors at BU. Having these extra opportunities helped her get into BU and helped her graduate with honors. And she came to me one day and she's like, Mama, I don't understand why I'm still so much more above what these other BU students are. She said, we all had to meet the same criteria to get in. And I said, because you learned how to study, you learned how to be independent, you learned how to do things on your own. And Merrimack High School and all of the enrichment programs provided her those opportunities. Jack's number 3. My second child is a nursing student at Riviere, and she would be the board math child who, she'd be like, why do I have to wait to do the assignment until the teacher gets done teaching it? She's like, I don't need that, I'm done already. To have the math enrichment for her kept her interested in math rather than tuning out entirely. And she's now in her second year of nursing at Riviere, and she's doing very well. She told me she got all A- this semester. And then my third, my lovely Jack.
I come up here to make sure everything's true.
Jack will keep you honest. It's the extra he needs. It's that extra that keeps him interested in school. And as he said, there are some days that are hard. Jack also has autism. And there are some days where the social rigors of the full classroom are just a lot. And to have that time to step away, to go to GNT, to do something a little bit more challenging, to do something a little bit different, has really helped him mentally get through this year. And I totally appreciate it. Mrs. Bradford is his wonderful teacher, and she's here tonight as well. So thank you. My family's had a really good education here in Merrimack, and I hope that continues with the enrichment programs, because these are our leaders. These enrichment programs are teaching our leaders to lead, and they're going to be the next generations who are sitting here like you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caitlin Bernier, 2 Birch Street. First, happy Educator Appreciation Week. I know some of you are also educators, as well as, aware of what's going on in the schools. Second thing I have before getting into the G&T is tomorrow is the last public hearing for the Senate Finance Committee, and it is the last chance to do online testimony for the state budget, which is HB2. If anybody is interested in it, if you want to testify, you can even just say if you're in opposition or support of it. It is at gc.newhampshire or nh.gov. And the Senate Finance Committee is a much smaller committee, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And then for what everybody else has spoken about, the 1/5 of our student population that this makes up of, that are in grades 3 through 6, these students would continue to would not necessarily continue to carry on within our school, as we have seen a decrease in enrollment once students are in the upper elementary and the middle schools. We don't provide the opportunities in the middle school with G&T, especially this past year, as we have previously. We will continue to have less, if we continue to get rid of G&T, we will have less offerings for the unique needs of our students, and this can also increase the behaviors in the classrooms, which would in turn increase IEP referrals and the costs associated with the IEP eligibility determination, because that would cost money to the district for having to have the psychologist doing any of the testing for IEP eligibility determination. So we would have an increase in the costs associated with our students just being able to meet their potential, and also, I don't have any more notes on it, and also an increase in the need for more professionals in the classroom to help with the students that are maybe bored or rolling around on the floor. There's, you start off when you're in first grade and you might not know that you are need to be gifted and talented, and instead you're rolling around on the floor because you're bored and need something to engage you. And being able to have this has been a great thing for many of our students, and I hope it's something that you consider keeping so that we can continue to engage and keep the students that we have in our schools enrolled. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who shared. We appreciate it very much. All right, moving on to recognitions.
No recognitions tonight, but we hope to have some at the next meeting.
All right, superintendent update.
Well, the Granite State Challenge is still very much in the forefront. Hearing from Sarah Campbell and Liz Dumais, excuse me, I don't want to forget Liz also, this Thursday night. May 8th at 8:30 p.m. on public television. Merrimack residents will be able to watch the Merrimack team against a tough Bedford team. Both schools have gone through two very difficult matches, and encourage everyone to watch. If Merrimack makes the finals, this will be the 6th year in a row that our school district will be playing for the championship, and I have to congratulate once again our very talented students and our very talented advisors, Sarah Campbell and Liz Dumais. From Caitlin Moran, who has been an outstanding addition at the high school. Caitlin has indicated that she has just received news that 2 student filmmakers made the official selection cut for this year's New Hampshire High School Short Film Festival. Jacob Puzo for his film Jacob Man Saves the World, and Alicia Pisano for her film Chop Shop Documentary Profile. There were 50 student entries all across New Hampshire and 28 films that made the cut. So this is an outstanding accomplishment. And so we look forward to great things from them. Also, from Christine Randolph at the high school, the World Language team is excited to inform us that 21 senior Merrimack High School students earned the New Hampshire Seal of Biliteracy Award for this school year. Our upper-level World Language students worked hard for this achievement, and we are very, very proud of them. And we'll post this on the website. Great things happening with excellent students, excellent staff, supportive families. Always, always wonderful things happening in our school district. I'm going to keep it a little bit brief tonight so that we can focus on the budget and other important topics. Once again, graduation, just to remind everyone, coming up in a little bit more than a month on June 14th. And once again, the last day of school will be June 18th. And hard to believe, I think if I calculated correctly, or maybe Sue can correct me, I think only 31 more school days in the school year.
Comments or questions from the board? All right, we will move on then to the Assistant Superintendent for Business Update.
Thank you very much. Last week was a pleasant week. It was school vacation week during those times. We always find we can get a tremendous amount of stuff that we've kind of been putting off because the phone rings and you have to go places, and there's always people asking questions. So there's a lot of little minor details that we're taking care of. Tom and I sat down, did some brainstorming on the capital improvement program. One thing I just want to kind of foreshadow, because there's been some chatter about it out there in the community, is the status of O'Gara Drive and the, natural speed bumps that occur every single spring, which is a lot less expensive than putting them in by hand, but they're called potholes. And when I went down that road, I counted around 21 of them, and there's around 3, 4, 5 inches deep, some of them. I do want to thank the Dawn and everybody at the Department of Public Works. We asked them for a favor if they had any extra patch that they could come over and patch those. So we really appreciate that, because it was getting to the point where it was kind of impassable. So that's something that, you're going to have to see that on the capital improvement plan coming up very shortly. Since I've been here, we have never touched that road. We have never touched that sidewalk. We have never touched those parking lots. So it's almost to the point where Tom and I are talking, do we want to put a roof off and do O'Gara Drive? Do we want to try to do both? I don't think we can do both. I don't know. It's something we're going to be talking about. We're going to bring that forward to the Planning and Building Committee. We already have kind of a rough draft that we just want to have a conversation with them before it comes to the school board. On the 14th, we do have a Planning and Building Committee meeting. We're going to talk about the naming request. The board had come forward with an additional naming request for the John Snell remote track, or whatever it was called, specifically adding Pat McGrath to the list, which I think is a wonderful idea, because Mr. McGrath had a lot to do with that track. He had a lot to do with the lights at Reed's Ferry in the fields. I remember those, years ago. So we have a meeting on the 14th, and we'll kind of sit down and have a nice conversation with them. It's always enjoyable to be in front of the Planning and Building Committee. So that's about it. Thank you.
Questions or comments from the board? For school board update, I again want to say thank you to all of our educators during this Teacher Appreciation Week. And if you feel so led to gift your child's teacher or teachers, well, I'll speak for myself, not a mug. I actually saw a whole post on this this past week, but parents are awesome. Parents do such an amazing job of reaching out to their child's teachers and educators, and schools just appreciating the work that they do. And so we want to say thank you to all of our educators here in the Merrimack School District and educators everywhere. Also, I again hope everybody enjoyed their spring break. We had some awesome weather for a few days and then came back to spring weather this morning. But it is growing very short. May and early June are very busy times for families. And I want to encourage families to stay on top of your newsletters, your school's website, your social media, because this is the time of year that a lot of culminating activities show up. And it's a really exciting time of year for students that they get to show off the things that they have learned this year. And of course, graduation, senior parents, I'm sure Finn will have to say something to say about that later, but senior parents, pay attention closely to the things that are coming. And seniors, you are about to fly out of the nest. It's your responsibility to stay on top of those dates and activities and show your parents that you are responsible adults. So we will come back when Finn can join us and give him an opportunity to give his student representative update. So let's tackle the elephant in the room, and that is the budget. We will hopefully tonight be making those final decisions on removing or reducing proposed items in the budget to get down to that default number. So I will open up to Bill first and then to the board for discussion.
Thank you, Lori. I think it's helpful that we did provide an excess of reductions. As I said in a memo to you, you represent the voices from the community, the priorities that the public has expressed to you. with respect to what they deem to be more desirable to maintain in the budget. And so with that, you have a little bit of room to navigate. We provided you with budget reductions that were $343,000 more than were necessary, as I said, to give you that flexibility. So, Matt and I are here to answer any questions that you might have, and we'll proceed through it with you.
So I'll open it up to the board. Lori.
Just a couple things. Going back to our discussion 2 weeks ago, we talked about if there was a cut to gifted and talented, and we were looking at training for faculty to be able to differentiate instruction, to be able to create more challenging instruction in classrooms, in non-levelized classrooms. What would that look like, and where would that money come from?
That would, Naomi, were you going to say something? First of all, that would involve a fairly significant amount of professional development. The art of instructional differentiation is not a one-and-done PD session. It's a multi-year commitment across all departments. It's easier for some staff than others, like everything else in life. So it would involve an investment of professional development money and time. In terms of the ability to quantify that, that is a little bit more challenging, since I would say if you're going to engage in sustained PD to help staff focus on professional development for differentiating instruction, I'd say that's a 3 to 5 year effort and not once a year. It has to be several times a year, each year. So I'm going to say that's probably a good $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 over a 2 or 3 year period to work on that differentiation. But it still does it replace truly focused gifted and talented program? Not necessarily. Does it provide differentiation for a broader array of students? Yes, it does. So there are advantages and disadvantages to both models.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
So in the idea of differentiation, do we, I assume, have training every year for new teachers on the curriculum?
Yes.
So could we utilize that, certainly, for training new teachers to, for example, wit and wisdom? Okay, you're learning how to use wit and wisdom. This is how we support students who need support to really access that education and make the most of it. These are the enrichment opportunities within wit and wisdom. These are the extension opportunities within wit and wisdom. Taking each curriculum piece and making sure, granted, I do think that you're absolutely spot on, that over 3 to 5 years to make sure we get everybody to be experts in differentiation, frankly, needs to happen whether we keep gifted and talented or not, right? Mm-hmm. Because we have to be doing that all the time anyway. So that is something I think we should do regardless. But when we're training new teachers, making sure that the focus is not just, here's the curriculum, here's how it works, but also, here's how we support learners who need support, and here's how we extend for learners who need the extension, whether it be wit and wisdom or the math curriculum or the science curriculum or any of it. Every time we're talking about curriculum in our district, we should be talking about how to support learners who need support and extend for learners who need a greater challenge. In my opinion, I'm just going to say that while we're talking about this.
It absolutely has to be a frame of mind that continues on throughout the entire year and quite honestly, in perpetuity. Over the years, I think most school districts across America have focused on students who exhibit a learning gap, and we haven't done a really good job focusing on students who are very capable of having extended learning opportunities and enrichment opportunities. And we want to make sure, to your point, Jenna, we want to make sure that all students have extended learning opportunities available to them. easier said than done because teachers are up to their eyeballs in work. Different classes present different challenges in terms of abilities and behaviors, but we need to make a more sustained effort at it.
So let me say something that just kind of looking at the financial piece of this and expectations. We as a district have invested a lot of money in UDL. And when we instituted UDL, that training included differentiation. Also, every teacher preparation program out there requires multiple instruction courses and assignments on differentiating for exceptional students. So new teachers should have already had a great introduction to that before they even get their teacher license. I think that what Bill is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is we need to set an expectation that we are going to be doing this and supporting through the curriculum, as Jenna said, those extensions. Like, just to use an example, this is not the curriculum we use, and I'm not suggesting we switch to this curriculum for math, but there is a math curriculum out there that every lesson, even in the student text, has extension activities for enrichment. So instead of 90 minutes per week of pull-out services and then enrichment services, we're ensuring that there's 1,800 minutes a week of extension and for exceptional students. And so I think supporting that through professional development, through our professional development budget line, we set that expectation. And then department heads, that's part of their role as department heads, is to be supporting teachers, modeling for teachers how to do that, ensuring that teachers are meeting those expectations. And then, of course, through our evaluation tool that Amy and the committee worked on last year and presented last year, that would be part of that evaluation tool. So it's a multi-pronged approach to set the culture that we are differentiating for all students in all classes, all lessons, every day. Yes. And then we're scooping up a lot more students. Naomi.
So I forgot half my notes, so I'm winging it a little bit. And I had intended to ask some leading questions of Amy, and so I'm winging it a little bit even more. I'm a lay person. So educators in the room, if I get something wrong, please stop me. But I wanted to kind of break this down a little bit because we're talking about really three different things. Differentiation in the classroom is sort of how a teacher would help a child in the moment who's maybe bored and they can go a little bit beyond what the rest of the class is doing. The gifted and talented pullout is a very specific thing for kids who take a test and score very specific high scores where they get extra stuff. And then the enrichment piece, which is something that our gifted and talented teacher has been doing already, is sort of extra group activities for some kids who maybe didn't meet that cutoff on that test, but are also needing a little bit extra. And those are the ones who probably would have been good targets for that differentiation in the classroom. I have been talking to people, and my understanding of it is that there is a way to provide that enrichment during a win time type model where you would have an MTSS handbook, which in addition to providing supports for kids on in the special needs category, would also have criteria, like defined criteria for if the kid meets this thing, then during win time, they go to this group and they do this extra activity based on what they're learning at school. And that it isn't necessary. It's not like going ahead, right? It's not like we're teaching them faster. It's just that we're giving them more, and that's part of what differentiation does as well. So there's the kind of an overlap almost between differentiation and enrichment. And so we would need that MTSS handbook with those very specific guidelines of how we're going to do this. We would need to have the staff be familiar with that and able to do it. We'd need to have the staff in place to run those sort of pull-out enrichment groups if that was a thing we were going to do. And we would need, you guys were talking about already, professional development. So my kind of opinion on the whole gifted and talented thing, and I'm my direct question to Amy was going to be, how soon do we think we can get to be in a place like that? Can you answer that? Thank you.
Well, I mean, I can't answer for Amy, but I can say the MTSS work is not, hey, let's write a handbook and get that put together.
Right.
And it's also what, by the way, our K-8 director of school counseling has been doing, and that role is being cut. So
Thank you for saying that.
it takes a lot of people 3 to 5 years, at least, I would say, to put that together. So the MTSS process in New Hampshire is one that is ongoing. It's sort of new. Everybody's sort of figuring it out as they go along, but there's a lot of we're in the leading edge of it, I would say, and we're doing a lot of good work. What will happen now with sort of the people that are driving it going away is a big question. Other people will have to pick up that baton, but it's not write a handbook and call it done.
I'd also like to just maybe tweak one little thing. Differentiation is planned. It is part of the lesson planning process. So when you're a teacher and you're making a lesson plan, you're going, how am I differentiating this lesson for these students in my class with an IEP, these students with a 504, these with exceptions? And also learning strategies include student-centered learning, where you are having them work in groups, you're having them do group projects. You can incorporate a lot of what we've been doing as enrichment in the lesson planning. And so differentiation is very much a planned part of lesson planning. And then an additional component to that is curriculum mapping. So curriculum mapping is where departments look at each grade level and the curriculum and ensure that everything is being spiral reviewed and there's no gaps. But along that mapping, you're putting your lesson plans in. This is what EduPlanet does that we've been working on, Amy's talked about. And you're putting in what your differentiation is for IEP, 504, general ed, and exceptional students in that mapping. So I just wanted to tweak that little component for you.
And along those lines, in that way, it's best practice because every single lesson allows every single student to have their needs met, right? So they're getting the lesson, and then we're extending for the kids, and we're giving them a more challenging. A really perfect example is second grade class that I work with. Has some really bright kids in it. And so when they sit down to do addition, right, the teacher will give them something and say, okay, multiplication is repeated addition, and gives them something that takes it and goes farther. Then they're, you know what I mean? So she's got a million, 3 different things going on at the same time, and it allows it to happen all day long as opposed to 90 minutes.
Naomi?
3 times a week. Or 30 minutes 3 times a week.
I want to sum up some things I'm hearing. I'm hearing that that's what we want to be doing and that's what we need to be doing. And I'm feeling that we as the board, we've said it in meetings, but we need to be really direct with our administration. This is what you need to be doing for us and for our students. I'm also hearing that we're not there yet. So I do have, based on words from the community is definitely part of it, but I'm also hearing that we're not there yet and it's going to take us a little while to get there. So I do have concerns, like we had the same conversation last year, right, about removing supports from kids while we don't have a clear plan in place about how we're going to provide that for them. That being said, I'm also hearing Jenna say that one of the other positions that's on the list, an administrative position, which we've consistently heard the community say that they do not value administrative positions, is doing some of that work right now. I want to say that again. One of the administrative positions that we're thinking of cutting is doing the work that is going to get us to the next level. I also want to say, sorry, this is, I went to a training last week. I'm working on becoming a trainer for bus drivers. To be a trainer for bus drivers in the state of New Hampshire, you have to have 32 hours of classroom training, and then you have to take an exam. So I was in this training, right? And we literally spent an entire day on the paperwork that we're required as certified trainers to file with the state of New Hampshire so that we can be bus drivers, so that we can certify people to be bus drivers. That's how heavily regulated that industry is. So this is an industry that I'm familiar with. I'm not super familiar with education, but I see all of these administrative positions on here, and I wonder how many of those jobs are necessary for the complying with state regulations, complying with those, because people don't like administrative positions. And I think we forget that we can't just take teachers and stick them in a building and not have support and not have people behind the scenes doing the paperwork and making sure we're on the up and up with the state. And I don't say this to, I really honestly don't know which of these things I would advocate getting rid of, because I don't want to get rid of any of them. But I think, again, we just need to remember that this is not out of the blue. We're not making these aren't arbitrary jobs.
Yeah. So let me answer that a little bit from something I made in public comment at a budget committee meeting. And I sent to the budget committee a link to a whole bucket load of unfunded mandates from the federal government. And then we have a whole bucket load from New Hampshire as well. Those unfunded mandates have to be managed. And they're not mandates for teachers. They are mandates for school administration duties. So, for example, when you have, let me just use, for example, out-of-district placements. Out-of-district placements is a relatively, in the course of 100 years of public education, a relatively new thing. And especially with the IDEA law, out-of-district placements require a lot of paperwork and follow-through, and the amount of work that is behind that is why you need a coordinator, because it is a tremendous amount of paperwork and compliance. Same thing with Title I, same thing with McKinney-Vento, ESOL. Those positions that people call administrators, by the way, those salaries, with the exception of the ones that are before us, most of those salaries are in line with what our teachers are being paid. They are not, oh my gosh, these high six-figure administrator salaries. And that's the perception that a lot of people have. And I agree. There's a lot of people who think, I don't like administrators, but these are administrative, which is different. And they have direct impact on students. So yes, maybe an administrative position is not in front of 25 or 125 students every single day, but every single thing they do all day impacts students directly. Lori.
So, none of us are going to like any of these cuts because of who we are and because of our commitment. And we worked very hard to get this budget passed. We did a lot of behind the scenes work to get this budget passed, and the budget did not get passed. So for me, as much as there's things here that I don't want to see go with all my heart, we gave the baton to the administration and we said, listen, we got to trust you guys. You got to come up with the list. Some of this, I don't want it to go, because if it goes, we might never get it back. And so that's, is there any way we could keep something? But I also understand we're under a time crunch, and so I think that for me, I would say, what would be the plan that we're going to make sure that, students are getting those critical thinking skills, they're getting those problem solving skills, they're getting, how can we design that within our school? Like, how can we have a school within a school for those kids that need to be stretched? And is that possible? Is there a way? We don't have time to do that tonight. So that's why, where we're at.
So let's start with the easy stuff. Go ahead, Jenna.
Well, before we, just because I know where you're going to dive in, and I have a few thoughts before you dive in.
Okay.
I think I know where you're going to dive in.
I was just trying to put a pin in the hard stuff and see what we can add up on the stuff is less painful.
Yes. So I think I'd like to say what I have to say first.
Okay.
So I want to reiterate what Lori said. We put together this budget, and I don't want to cut any of it. I think it's all important. These are the nights I really hate sitting here. I don't I believe in everything we put in this budget. I don't think it was bloated or inflated. And I believe that part of the stress that we're feeling as a community, certainly as a homeowner, I feel it as well, is because, and I'm just going to say it again, the state is underfunding public education in the state of New Hampshire, which is why I will be going to the State House tomorrow to testify. So I'll stop there. I'll say that. But I was complaining, I was sharing my thoughts with my husband at home about this process, and he doesn't like to hear me complain. And so he said, stop whining about it and get creative. And I thought, well, first of all, I thought he was kind of being mean, but then I was like, you know what, he's not wrong. So I was looking at this, and what I was thinking to myself is, first of all, I want to thank you for putting together a list that incorporated a little of everything here, there, and everywhere. New things, existing things that, furniture, and, we're sure we need that table, but maybe we'll use the old broken table for a while longer, or whatever it is. I don't know that we really have an old broken table. I'm just making that up. But I appreciate the list. I also appreciate how hard it must have been for you all to make it, because I know you all didn't want to cut any of this either.
Well, and I appreciate that comment, keeping in mind that, as I said at the last meeting, the approach that we will never take is the public has told us we need to cut, now we're going to make students pay for it. That is not the approach. You don't penalize students, you don't penalize taxpayers, so we try to set, based on goals, based on a strategic plan, what are priorities. And unfortunately, something has to lose here in the budget cutting process, but we will never use children as pawns in terms of cutting all sports, cutting all co-curricular activities. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Purely punitive.
Yes. So as I'm looking at this list, I don't have big emotions about AC units or furniture or, cameras, as much as I know they're useful. I use them actually in my job a lot. Sidewalk sealing. I mean, I'm not going to go home and not be able to sleep because our sidewalks aren't sealed. So that can go as far as I'm concerned. The ones that I'm having the hardest time with, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are probably right there with me, is of course the gifted and talented positions. The proposed math interventionist, we've covered gifted and talented, so I won't talk more about that, but the math interventionist, because our scores are low and we need to do something about fixing them, not because we want to be like, look at our scores, but because it represents students who need help. So that's obviously a need. I'm concerned about the grade 4 teacher because I know that class size has direct implications for student success and engagement. And if you're asking teachers to differentiate, you don't want to give them 28 kids, you want to give them 22 or 17 or whatever your goals have to match, right? You can't say, we want you to differentiate and then be like, and we're going to jack your class sizes up, right? The K-8 director of school counseling, I understand that one I may not be able to defend, but I will say that person does very important work. Our counselors are strategic in that MTSS process that helps to support all students behaviorally and academically. And that person in particular is working really hard to get our MTSS process up to where it needs to be in Merrimack, and losing that would be challenging. So when I see those on the list, and I will say that being a soccer mom and knowing that our soccer program is huge, it's a very small piece here, but the middle school soccer B team, I feel, is really important to me as well. So all that said, I wondered, so I asked about the gifted and talented numbers, and I just want to say publicly what they are. Currently, one teacher is at MES and JMUS, and one is at TFS and RFS. And together they serve 50 gifted and talented students. And 50 gifted and talented students are students who qualify for services via the COG-AT and iReady data, and they receive 90 minutes of pull-out instruction per week, so probably 30 minutes 3 times a week, if I'm guessing, or some combination of that, too. Okay, 45 twice a week. Thank you. Good thing people are sitting over here. Okay, 45 minutes twice a week. So those are the kids that have been identified as gifted and talented, and they are being served. Enrichment numbers, and I'm reading directly from Amy's email here, are more robust. At RFS, that's 34 students across the 3 trimesters. TFS, it's 52 students across the 3 trimesters. At MES, it's 45 students across the 3 trimesters. And at JMUS, it's 162 students across the 3 trimesters. And enrichment numbers, and those enrichment kids, to my understanding, are kids that maybe don't meet the cutoff but could use the extra challenge, but it actually can be any student or not. It can't be any student. So I don't know what I'm talking about there, I guess.
It's based on the I-ready criteria.
I-ready criteria.
We get a say in it, but it's
Okay.
based on data.
Okay, great, on data.
They fall right below.
So it is more robust, but they don't hit the gifted and talented benchmark. Okay. So that actually helps me. My thinking is, when I read those numbers, I thought, okay, there's 50 kids, and then when I did the math, 293 that would fall into the enrichment category. And so, Jenna Hardy, the teacher and the parent and the school board member, wants all of that. But I also, the board member part of me also answers to taxpayers. And so I sit and I think to myself, when these things happen, what can I defend? And what can I defend in this is we do have to provide what we can. And so enrichment is something that I would love to have, but I don't know that I can defend that to taxpayers if they fall into a gray area. Do I think those kids deserve challenge as well? Yes. Do I think it could be met through differentiation? Also yes, or possibly anyway. So my question is, this is a long-winded way of getting to, if that population is truly just, for one of those teachers, 22 students, and one of those teachers, 25 students, just purely out of those 50 kids that qualify as gifted and talented, what does it look like? And I know this is not ideal, but to retain services for students, what does it look like? And is it possible to make those positions part-time? It saves us money. I understand that the people that are in those positions right now are full-time and probably don't want to work part-time, and I understand that, and that is a wrinkle, and it's an unpleasant one. However, there are, and this goes for the math interventionist as well. Is that another one that we can make part-time? I understand why we want it to be full-time, but we have reading and math interventionists in our building, and they are part-time, and who they are teachers who have retired but aren't ready to completely go away. And they are amazing, and they work 4 days a week. Like Title I, they come in and they provide intervention services. And here's the other thing, and I say this because I am a mom who's working in a part-time position that was created because I went to the administration and said, can this be part-time? And they said yes, and I went, that's amazing. There are moms like me who, can't or don't want to or be full-time. They want mom's hours, and maybe it's a position like that. Now, I'm throwing it out there. I know it's creative. You all may disagree. Everyone could disagree with me, but I'm trying to retain the services while still managing to cut some of the funding to get us where we need to be. And I'm just in this place where, considering the environment that we are in with the tax situation, and I think we have to start thinking creatively. What can we do? Can an interventionist be part-time? Can a gifted and talented teacher be part-time? So that we can keep the grade 4 teacher, can we put in and then the other thing I'll say is the middle school athletics, the B team for the soccer, they travel with the A team. They would travel with the A team. That makes that about a $2,000 add back in, and I would like to see that personally added back in. Lacrosse might have to wait because they would have to have separate transportation, and that transportation costs increase. Those are my thoughts. But if somebody could answer about part-time options,
So we
I
would
be
need
curious.
Matt to tell us, because we're looking at numbers. We have
Yes,
to look at the
right,
numbers.
correct.
What 3 part-time without benefits, 1.5 FTEs without benefits would be.
Matt hates me right now.
Well, that's kind of it all depends on where they would fall on the scale, but probably how many FTEs?
1.5.
1.5.
So
You're
3
probably
part-time.
talking maybe I don't know, $40,000, something like that, $50,000.
Savings, you mean? $50,000 of
Yeah.
savings?
Are we talking savings or what it would
No, I want to
cost?
know what the total cost.
Yeah, 1.5.
Would it be
Yeah,
easier to think about it
50,000.
as your benefits are a certain percentage and just take off that percentage?
Well, you don't have health insurance
Right,
because
so
they're
just-
part-time. You don't have New Hampshire retirement, so all I have is 7.625 FICA Medicare, so whatever the salary would be for 1.5 people, let's say $60,000, and then tack on the rest of it.
So
100
Matt, if we're
grand.
looking at these lines, right, the first line is the cost on the gifted and talented teacher. Again, salary and benefits for anyone watching at home, because lest anyone think that this
Yeah,
is a
the
salary.
129
129, the other one's 120, and then the proposed math interventionist is 100.
Right.
What would those numbers look like if they were 50, if they were part-time?
With no benefits, yeah, we're talking 30.
Well, the benefits, I mean, you have family plans like $40,000, $30,000 to $40,000 just for health insurance. So
So-
you subtract those off of each three of them, and then you take the New Hampshire retirement, which is another 14%, take that off, and then you'd have to put their hours down. Now, what's part-time? Is part-time
For me, it's,
half-time?
I don't know, for me, it's
It's less than
9
30 hours.
Yes,
a week.
27 and a
Yeah,
half
less
is
than
mine, randomly.
30. So what, about 90,000?
90,000?
Yeah.
One and a half?
would think
Yeah.
30, 30, and 30-ish.
Yeah.
So that's about $90,000
Yeah.
of savings.
No,
If-
no, that's the cost. 90,000 is the cost. $30,000 for each position would be the salary.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, not the savings.
So you'd
I
have to
think I
do
still don't think I see what you're saying.
So $30,000 would be the salary for
In this
MES
cost
gifted
line.
and talented.
Oh, 30,000 would be it?
Yeah, for one person part time, no
So
benefits.
you'd add the 129, the 120, and the 100, and then you'd subtract the $90,000 from that.
I mean, so if, and I'm just going to say that word largely because this is clearly just my random idea, we did that, it could possibly get us where we need to be without cutting those things. And I understand there's the question of could we hire somebody, but I kind of believe we could.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of interesting because you need to cut $1,015,000, and you have $1,358,000 in cuts here. So you can put back $343,820. I mean,
Yeah.
in order to get
And that's
there.
what I was going to say. We can, if we can come up with 343,820, then that's how we would
Put back in,
calculate,
that's right.
put back in.
Yeah, I already
Lori, and then-
went through because I'm listening to the
Rachel.
G&T conversation. If you take all the G&T, you add everything up, including supplies and everything like that, you've got $256,000 that you're putting back.
Right.
That leaves you $87,000 to find.
So my point would be, if we could go back to the schools and ask them, they're the experts of their schools. If we could give you this amount of money back, what would you choose? Would you choose a part-time person, or would you choose people within the schools to do extra work, or, give up their prep time, to work, to do gifted and talented? What would their plan, what would their vision be if there could be some concession?
See, I'm not at this point in time really confident about the attractability of a
Of 30 hours, I
part-time
get that.
positions without benefits, retirement, whatever. I know we've had part-time custodians, a part-time grounds person open for 20 years now that we haven't been able to fulfill. And we don't have that many part-time people in this school district at all.
Well, that may be true, but a lot of in my elementary school, the people retire and they come back and they substitute. But instead,
Well, yeah,
they
they
fight
have-
over those interventionist positions that are 4 days a week because it gives them a more flexible schedule. And
And it can only work 20, is it like, so the Department of Education at first said they could work 32. Then because of fire and police or whatever, now I think it's so many.
They dropped
I
it
think it's so
down.
many hours per year. But if you give up the vacations,
I'm just pulling them like 14, 40 hours. That rings a bell. I don't know exactly what it is, but
Yeah, they would.
there's a number
I think
of
that
hours.
maybe 20 hours a week they
Yeah.
can work, but that doesn't count like vacation. So there's so many hours per year for the state of New Hampshire you can work.
And I will go back to the fact that there are moms like me who had a teaching certification for 15 plus years and would have loved to work part-time, and those jobs don't exist.
Thank you. So just a couple thoughts while we're on G&T and the FTEs and interventionalists. Instead of thinking about it from a part-time perspective, what would it look like if you went to one FTE to serve all 50 students? And or could one FTE service, I'm guessing no, but service G&T and also serve the interventionalist position as well? I'm guessing that's probably a little bit too much of a case.
A math interventionist is a very particular skill set.
Okay. So I guess, so my question then would be, could we have one staff member that was able to handle G&T? We can talk about the interventionalist after. But my other thought, so that's, I guess I'll end with that question, but I do have one other thought afterwards.
Across one FTE, G&T, across
district?
all the
Yeah, so all
elementary
four
schools?
buildings for one person.
And they serve those 50
Only
students.
G&T.
Yeah, just those 50.
It could work. It would be challenging from a logistical standpoint for the staff member, but from a numbers perspective, it could work.
How challenging? Like impossible challenging or?
I don't think anything is impossible, but
I think if we're looking
Yeah.
to reimagine the program in a sense, right, we don't necessarily have to have that much direct student time. If we were to take this person and say, we would like you to work on advanced enrichment for K through 6, taking over these 3 positions, and then they can kind of work on plans to maybe spend a little bit of time with students one-on-one, or also work on differentiation plans, small scale activity plans, right? And so you're still having somebody whose focus is on students who are above normal curriculum, but you're not necessarily having to spend that much time in individual groups of students.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, because they could meet with them once a
Right.
week and give them something to work on independently, which
Working with
you
their
can trust those
teachers,
kids
right,
to do.
exactly.
If you're
all the
t-
way to the next week when they meet them.
If you're-
Again, not like ideal and not what we're doing, but
If you're
differently.
talking the traditional model the way it is right now, it's kind of like how thin can you slice the ham so when the ham is not a slice of ham anymore. But if you reimagine it, like what Finn was talking about,
Well, I guess
maybe that could be something that would work. And I'm out of my realm here, but I've been around long enough to know how stuff works.
Yeah, I would turn to you and Amy in terms of, you guys and Amy in terms of like how amenable would the district leadership team be to that? How would you think it would work? Do you think it would be effective?
yeah, we would have to have that conversation. My emphasis certainly would be on providing as much direct services to students as possible. And if we had one FTE, and I'd want to check with the leadership team to see logistically if that could work from a scheduling perspective. Working with the 50 or so G&T students, but then provide professional development for our staff through various department heads, curriculum leaders, in terms of enrichment activities. What is possible?
And I think, correct me, board, if I am wrong, what I am hearing is we want to put a stopgap measure in place to not just eliminate G&T for next year, but we are pushing for something to be different, to not continue it beyond next year the way it is. And if we're talking about a single FTE to provide some direct instruction for those who qualify for G&T for this next year, but then supporting and working almost like an exceptional student interventionist for the teachers, and start moving the ball forward in this reimagined system so that eventually it looks different than it does now, but we're not eliminating, we're not going to 0 minutes.
It's exactly what I'd like to see.
Rachel?
Yes.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add my other thought to this, because I think this thought can carry through to other parts of the discussion when we're talking about staff members and not staff members, staff positions. my one other thought is if we're trying to get creative and if we come up to a number that we are, over that 343,000, that we can't come to. Matt, I'm wondering have you thought at all about if we can do reductions in other areas such as, I know in budget committee meetings there was on the supplies line, talk of potentially like 50,000 there. I know Naomi, you brought up probably back in December, utility type, cuts of about 30 or 40,000. So not anything to say right now, but if we're trying to get creative, are there just other line items that we could, again, I don't know if there's more technology or software, something where we could just pull a little bit more from. So if we're talking positions that support students, we might be able to have a little wiggle room there as we're talking.
I'd stay away from supply accounts because when it push comes to shove, they're going to buy them anyway because they'll probably need them. Utilities, that's anybody's guess with the supply costs. We've locked in our supply cost, but the distribution charges, who the heck knows where that's going to go? And then you have to worry about, degree days, winters, and everything like that. There are some years we have a really mild winter, and it's like, oh my gosh, we barely used anything. And then if you take that and you extrapolate it and use it for a predictor for the next couple of years, then you messed up because all of a sudden it's the North Pole around here. So it's stuff like that can get you in trouble real quick. And I'm very mindful of the bottom line, especially these days with what is going on, with the district and everything like that, that I don't want to put us in a position to have to dip into emergency funds to bail us out at the end. Kind of like Merrimack Valley School District, and it kind of like maybe Hooksett, and kind of like a bunch of other districts around here. So,
Lori?
That's difficult.
So I have, first of all, I'm hoping that next year will be, as we build the budget, that as we do go to our goals meeting and we come back, that we're going to be able to put things back in, and we're going to be able to take a really solid look, because there's things here that none of us want to cut. So how are we going to come up with those savings? I think we have to do our due diligence as we build the budget, because I think things like gifted and talented need to come back in. If it comes out and it looks different for a year, how is that going to look, a year from now? And how are we going to, I know Lori said this recently at a meeting, that, we've got to come in, level funded or close to that, but where else can we find the money? And for me, one of the drums that I beat a number of times is, again, police details. I know we spend a lot of money on police details for basketball games, football games, and that might be a place where we can get 20,000 or 10,000. If we don't have 100 kids at a game, we have 30. Do we need to have, do we need an administrator and the athletic director? What do we need?
Can I say one thing?
Yes, go ahead.
I heard talk about level funded budget for next year. What you're doing over here is going to set you up for next year, right? So if you don't make cuts that are going to be sustainable for this year and for next year, you've just did yourself a bit of a disservice, especially if you're talking a level funded budget and health insurance is going to go up. That's an automatic cut right there. See, if you're talking the same amount of money and the New Hampshire retirement system goes up and health insurance goes up another 10%, that's $1 million cut before you get out of the gate if you're talking a level funded budget for 26, 27.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think we can talk all we want about a level funded budget, but when we don't know what's happening with...
Right, I get that.
My children say if I say the word tariffs in my house, I could be, literally murdered because they're tired of me saying it. But you just never know what's going to happen. Like right now, a lot of things are up in the air and you just don't know what things are going to cost in a year. I mean, some people say it's going to be a nightmare. Some people are going to say it's going to be the best thing that's ever happened to anything. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. So level funded, we hope, but
and
still
luckily we don't have
questions.
to make that decision till November.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, please keep in mind, there's a big difference between a level funded budget and a level service budget. Right. Level funded budget means you're going to be cutting at least $2 million for next year.
Okay, so the way to look at this so we can move forward is we want to save $343,820. So let's start making a list of the things we want to save. It's a shorter list than what we want to cut. And what I hear, let's just start with this point, keeping $120K for an FTE for G&T and enrichment. Okay. I'm just putting it down. The math interventionist. Now, let me explain. My sister-in-law is a math interventionist in Arkansas. They have to specialize in math. They generally they were a math education major. They also have a lot of training, if not a second degree in special education. And they're trained in techniques to help all students with math intervention. So it's a technical position. Even as a math major myself, I wouldn't want to be a math interventionist just because of the added technical skills that you have to have for that position. What is the feasibility of making that part-time, at least for this next year, to see how effective a part-time position would be?
That is a possibility in my former district. Granted, a different state, but we employed a number of part-time interventionists.
So Matt, what would you put? Would you make that 30 or 40 for a part-time position?
Depending upon the, math interventionists, I assume don't grow on trees. I would probably say 40.
Okay.
I agree.
So I'm going to put 40 down. All right, the grade 4 teacher at RFS. So according to the PowerPoint, we would have students in the range of 22 to 24 per grade for 4th grade. And this position would get us to the ideal of 18 to 20. So I'm just throwing that out there for consideration, how you feel about that. The district registrar, director of school counseling, and data specialist. So we can't save all of those positions.
Yeah, may I'm
Yes.
sorry, Naomi.
I'm probably going to say what you were going to say, Bill. Is Bill had said in the last meeting that
Yes.
they're looking at kindergarten enrollments for reads, and they're probably going to be less than what they originally projected. So we'll be able to reallocate staff positions
Yep.
so that that 4th grade teacher is not a cut. That was a new position that we were going to add
That's
in.
right.
So it takes the money out of the budget without impacting staff.
Agreed.
And at this point, it seems like it's probably not going to impact class sizes in a very negative
absolutely.
way either.
So we don't need to save that.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about the K-8 director of school counseling?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to ask this question, so I'm going to be careful. But so at the high school, our director of school counseling also does school counseling, and in other districts, sometimes a K-8 director of counseling will be a school counselor who has a stipended leadership position. Is there a way that we could look into something like that in Merrimack if our director of school counseling is one of the K-8 counselors or K-8 counselors, and also gets a stipend for doing some of that?
That is a possibility.
Okay.
So
Doesn't help us
we got to
whether
put a number on it.
And do you decide, we'd have to decide that that's the direction we're going to go.
Correct.
To put a number on it.
But we can eliminate the FTE.
Oh, you're right.
And see where we are.
Right.
Yes.
Since we're personnel heavy, let's talk about district registrar and student data specialist. We just filled that registrar position fairly recently.
Yes, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And let me go to the student data specialist. That position, a lot of the numbers we see here at the board, all of those things, anytime you need numbers and data on students, education, all of those things. What about part-time for either of those?
Well, the data specialist, there is going to be some reorganization in the central office. We have a retirement. One of our current staff members is going to, I believe that's still the plan, Matt, fill in, take that retirement position, leaving one administrative assistant position in the central office open. We would like to take the data specialist That person, I believe, will be an applicant, and if it works out, that position would be filled by that data specialist, and so those services would still be available to the school district.
So we can,
Associated with curriculum instruction.
correct, Naomi?
That's the data specialist we're
That's
talking
the
about.
data
Okay.
Yes.
And I was just going to say, when I was a high school principal, I did my own data. That was my job. I had a data board. I had to research, do the data, put the data out. So I can comfortably say, this is a nice position, but I can live without this position.
District registrar.
The district registrar has allowed us to know in real time any enrollment trends, unenrollment trends. There is some work that we need to do with that position in terms of appropriate grade assignments. But it is a position also that has focused on tracking down parents who are enrolling their children illegally. So there is some payback to that position, quite honestly. Probably a little bit more attention than an administrative assistant in a school could provide to it, because that administrative assistant in the school is dealing with 350, 400, and 450 children, whereas this is a specialized position, so it does have some payback to it.
How feasible would that be to reduce?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
We could reduce it to a half-time position, or slightly less, with specific hours for registration.
My question was actually going to be, what impact on families registering their children does eliminating that position have?
They would go back to registering the students in their respective schools. The administrative assistants in the schools.
Say I
would
move to
assume.
Merrimack and I have an elementary schooler and an upper elementary schooler
Yep.
and a middle schooler, I would have to do my little
You would
train
have to
around
make
and
the
do
rounds,
three
yeah. That's
schools, which
correct.
is not necessarily an unreasonable thing to ask. I just feel like we should be clear about what we're talking about.
And
Correct.
it's only been not that way for the last 2 years, which again, we're all for, but here we are.
I was going to say, I'm all set with this cut. You know, directors of guidance have for years, a school district, Nashua, Manchester, they have a registrar. Someone our size, if you look at 88 school districts in the state of New Hampshire, most of them do not have registrars. They go to their directors of guidance, and that's where they come in.
Rachel?
Thanks. So I just want to say, so it seems like we've talked about most of those positions. On the keep list right now, we're at 160,000 with a potential stipend for the school counselor. So even in the scenario, if you kept a full FTE for the registrar, you're up to 260,000 to keep, and we can keep up to 343. So there is wiggle room depending on the other categories that we talk about. So just want to mention that.
So let's put it on the possible save list, and we'll come back to it. I do want to go to the middle school athletics, because we've all talked about, especially that B team. It's $10,000 for both, but we'd also need a new coach stipend for lacrosse. We would need, as Jenna said, the transportation. So I am actually amenable to keeping that B team. Additionally, we have additional female sports that don't have a comparable male sport. This would add another opportunity for male students. Lori, and then Rachel.
So this one's a hard one because as you know, I'm, NHIA my whole career, but it's only $10,000, but we're cutting other places, and so I'm going to have a hard time not cutting this and cutting other things. That's just me. This is new programming. It's B team sports, and we're cutting other things, and then we're coming back to it. So that's, I know that everyone's going to say, I can't believe she just said that. But.
No, but can I just say, if we keep just soccer, that's $2,000. You can't keep any of these positions for $2,000. So it's not, well, they cut gifted and talented and kept athletics. Well, yeah, the total cost here for gifted and talented is $250,000, right? A B team for the soccer. And we're talking about keeping boys engaged. In sometimes the fact that they have that soccer thing hanging over their heads keeps them engaged in school because they have to keep their grades up. I mean, I got
trust me.
I know
I'm
you. I know
100%
you
for
know.
sports.
But I'm saying we can put the B soccer team in there for approximately $2,000,
Well,
and we can
coach.
say we're going to wait on lacrosse. You know what I'm saying? And that's a middle of the road.
There are other athletic items too that would still be on the cut list. So it's not like we're putting back in all athletics, whereas we're sort of putting back in. Sort of my kind of goal is to put back in a little of everything, because admin did a really good job of providing us with a balanced list of things that impact students, things that impact staffs, things that impact facilities, things that impact improvements, and so I feel like putting back in a tiny bit of everything is reasonable.
Rachel.
Thanks. And I'll just bring up from the lacrosse point of view. So I led the subcommittee as part of the budget committee for the middle school liaison team, and the request for lacrosse was a student-driven request. So it is something that comes with, again, brings in pride for those students. And it was something that has been, I believe, if I remember correctly, requested for a couple of years. So this was the year that they decided to put it in. So again, student requested, student-driven ask on the lacrosse side.
So with the lacrosse, I just want to clarify, because I'm looking at the budget for the middle school, Matt. I'm looking at their request sheet, and it says $8,000 for boys and girls lacrosse. We aim to expand our spring athletic offerings, yada, yada, yada. Their proposed budget covers essential expenses, including coaches, goalie equipment, and officials. And then below, there's a request for increasing coaching stipends. So I just want to clarify that $8,000 and that $2,000 for B soccer and boys and girls lacrosse includes the existing rate of coach stipends.
That was my understanding, yes.
So even if we put the $10,000 back, we've got the coaches and that covered. We don't have the transportation covered, though.
Right.
That's where I think the problem lies. The B soccer team can travel with the A soccer team because that's how they arrange the schedule. Lacrosse means we are getting a bus, and then the cost becomes, I don't want to say astronomical, but
Yes.
a lot more.
Yeah,
And
like
if we're looking to add
$350
a secondary team, right, we're opening up to a larger pool of students than necessarily the top that could compete in both soccer and lacrosse.
Yeah, lacrosse
right.
is a different season.
Right, but it could very possibly be the same group of kids that play lacrosse as plays A team soccer. Whereas if we open up to B team soccer, we're allowing a wider group of students,
Correct.
right?
Less cuts, yeah.
So.
And I will say that in the athletic transportation budget, lacrosse is not listed
Yeah, so that's
at $239 a trip.
nope. I don't think we could do that. I don't think we could do that. That seems like it might have been an oversight to say let's do the team, but not
Not have put the transportation in the budget.
correct. So and I thought that was going to be the breaking point for lacrosse anyway, because it's so expensive.
How many games do they generally play?
I would probably at least 5, which makes
or
it
10, probably 10.
Well, I would say
Five-
soccer.
five
Soccer
home,
is
five
soccer
home,
is
five
7.
away.
Soccer is 7. Basketball is 9. Cross country is 8. Track is 12. So just taking an average, you're looking 7 or 8 times 239.
Yeah. Basketball's only 9 games.
Some games
For
are at
middle school.
home.
Oh, wow.
So
Some games are
you would
at
have like half at home. So you'd
Well, this is the away
that's
trips.
true. Thank you.
Oh, these are the away.
These are the away trips.
So that would be
So they probably double
18,
yeah,
right? Okay,
games.
as I knew there was
Right.
they had to have at least 18 games. All right.
And if we add soccer B team back in, and again, I don't remember what meeting it was in, but somebody said they travel together.
travel
And
together.
if that's not true, then we can't do it. But as long as that is true, the ad is the stipend and
Well, and remember, for a soccer team, you have 16. plus coaches. 16 more is 13. You've got your 140-person bus, whether you have one team or two.
So we would need to find out how many schools offer an A and B team. And I remember the presentation,
Yeah.
they said a number of schools did, because
Yes.
not everybody, the A team plays, the B team's gonna have a team. So there's actually probably gonna be less games, but that's good. Like, that's fine. They can do scrimmages among themselves. And I like what you said, that we're giving new kids an opportunity.
My one question would be, because I know it happens with most of the sports that my kids are on, usually the boys and girls teams travel together, so I don't know if having 3 teams in one bus, does that put us over capacity?
If you had, for just lacrosse?
No, she's talking about soccer.
Soccer, it might.
It shouldn't.
Well, there's 40, how many kids can take a bus?
Yeah, but that's what I was gonna say. They're usually not both
Oh, yeah,
away.
they don't, yeah. Yeah.
It would be boys, the boys' 2 soccer teams would be
Yeah.
away while the girls are
I was
at
gonna
home.
say, that's how it used to be, but I
Yeah,
didn't know.
I was gonna say, that's how it's usually. I'm just looking through their thing to see if I can get an answer to that question.
Well, let's just say if the transportation piece doesn't work out, that's where the whole thing will break down.
Right, it's gonna break down.
But it might not.
But we know but just putting a pin in lacrosse for a minute, soccer is 2,000, period. Because the transportation is already budgeted in. So I think it's fair to say we can add that on our list of save stuff right now. We'll come back to lacrosse. The MHS uniforms, that was for the white jerseys, I believe, for the football team. I'm just looking at some of the higher cost things down this list. Software. Matt, the one question I had on that, do you know what software licenses they're talking about there?
A lot of subscriptions and whatnot. I've been talking with Jason quite a bit. We've been working together on a lot of projects, and that's essentially what he's talking about.
What kind of subscriptions?
Right,
Because
are they
a quiz is a subscription, or a Kahoot subscription is a direct student engagement subscription.
Well, I don't know if it's
versus-
direct student engagement.
And like we use
software.
Adobe software for some of our classes, right? So versus
You'll
like
have
back-end
Adobe
stuff.
software. Don't worry about that. 'Cause I use that all the time. So
So are we looking at possibly that these are subscriptions that are less direct student?
Correct.
Okay.
yeah,
That was
he
my
wouldn't have put them down there if he wasn't confident. And we've been talking about it anyway. Anything that has technology in it, I am firmly confident that is a good cut.
Lori, you had your hand up.
I just was going to backtrack a little bit. So at some point in time, I would love to know, from the athletic director, to have him come in and just talk about how we rotate sports and uniforms, like how many years our uniforms actually last. I know a lot of the clubs, like the Striker Club, et cetera, like those clubs get the socks. Sometimes they get the shorts, but, we get the uniforms. What Striker Club or Booster Clubs help support uniforms, which ones don't, just more information.
We'll get you that uniform replacement schedule and who funds what.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can dig that up probably from a good 15 years ago, and we had a uniform replacement cycle.
Right.
You
No,
know,
that's,
and-
I just
and
remember
then-
that.
and then it was-
And by the time you got uniforms, you needed them because kids were wearing
That's
big
right.
shirts.
So let me read
because
what's
their
in the
mothers
budget
washed
request
them
on
in
that.
red.
It says the increase of $22,500 is to purchase new blue uniforms for football. That's my error. White uniforms were replaced in 2023-24, but the blue uniforms were last purchased in 2019 and are beyond cleaning or repair. So it's about a 6-year.
6 years.
I want to go back to one other thing too. We did not add this in. The supplies for G&T is $7,017.
That also includes the middle school, which was a position that was cut last year. If we're looking for just TFS, JMUs, RFS, and Master Cola, I think it's 43.
Oh, you're right. The 2,700 is
2,700 is middle school.
Not
yeah.
that I'm against adding more money to G&T, but
Can I ask how much of that is Do you know that if there's a difference between what goes to G&T and what would be enrichment if we're just looking at one FTE for G&T?
Matt, that would be a you question.
I wouldn't even venture a guess at this point in time. What would be?
We'd have to at least put some number down.
Yeah.
We'd have to pick a number.
I would like to see
G&T versus enrichment,
In
what
supplies.
goes to what in supplies.
Yeah.
Well, if you take the ratio, 50 kids are in gifted and talented.
You'll have to just come up with
293, according to my addition, were enrichment students. So, one quarter of them. At this point, we're just guessing, which is a terrible way to do this.
I lost track. Are you talking about G&T supplies or
Yes.
Supplies.
instructional math intervention supplies?
No, G&T supplies.
okay.
So 1139 at each of the elementaries and 900 at JMU's.
Yeah.
And 2,700 at the middle school.
So there was no.
But we're not going to.
We don't have that position.
Yeah, and there was no supply. I don't know if the math interventionists would need supplies. So if they would, why don't we just put down the full 4,300? So that's everything less the middle school. So 4,300 would be supplies for.
But I just want to
and
note
the
that the middle school is in there because it was eliminated. The funds for the supplies and program development remained in an effort to meet the needs of the students. This reduction eliminates that embedded funding.
Same thing happened with the high
Oh,
school.
yeah. So we would just eliminate. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Sorry. It took me a second.
I do think a reasonable amount is $5,000 if we're looking at 43 for last year, and then we're hoping to do enrichment services with a wider group of students and maybe have direct classroom differentiation, allowing that person to have more resources available. I think would be quite helpful.
4,300 is the budgeted request. That's not what. That's not last year's.
I gotcha.
So I think for now, let's leave it at 4,300.
Okay.
Okay. So we have 120 for gifted and talented FTE, 40,000 for math interventionist part-time, 100,000 registrar, 2,000 for the B team, and 4,300 for gifted and talented. That's what we're at so far. Yep. 266.3. So we have about 80,000-ish we can still save.
Can I ask a question or bring up the one thing under textbooks, the social science new text for the high school? I know that those were going towards civics updates, and just wondering, I think the last time it was, if I remember correctly, it was
Obama was a
2009.
senator in it.
Yes.
Yes. That was the next one that I was going to bring up too, because and there's two reasons. One, our texts are outdated, but two, it hasn't been decided for sure, but there is a movement to make civics a year-long course, and we simply do not have a text that supports that. And we'd have to do it next year anyway. So whether we put it back in this year's budget or put it in next year's budget, it's not going away as an expense.
That was on my list as well because of how outdated it was, and because, again, this would fall into the unfunded mandate situation, right? We're being told we have to have this civics class, right? We have these textbooks; they're hopelessly out of date, and
they have to take a civics test.
And they have to take a civics test
That's
to
right.
graduate, right? So here we are.
I do want to add just one thing. I found myself and co-students, classmates. Thank you. There we go. That's the word. Co-students very seldom used our textbooks, particularly in social studies classes. We tend to do a lot of things online. There are a lot of texts available online, including textbooks that would meet certain standards. So OpenStax is a great resource to say, hey, we're going to put the link on Canvas. This counts as your textbook. Not necessarily for this, but I think it is important to look at, textbooks have been something that the district has bought for so long that it's almost like an automatic, we need to update this. We're doing this new curriculum. We need textbooks. I would love to see, reach out to the staff, reach out to the students, be like, how many of you are actually incorporating textbooks regularly into your curriculum? How many of you are giving textbooks to students to take home? And there are teachers. There are teachers where we are taking notes from textbooks, and they're helpful. There are just so many other resources. I don't want it to be something that we are procuring just to procure. I want it to be something that we're like, yes, we see a need for.
Well, the good thing is this. we are moving to a lot of digital. The cost is the same whether they're printed or digital.
That's true for a lot of them.
The licenses and the.
But like OpenStax is a nonprofit organization, and that's where we actually get our physics books.
Yep.
And so you don't need to pay a license. If you want a printed book, I think they're $40.
Right.
And so that's what we ended up doing. But they're, but yes, like something like Pearson, something like, I know we got New Chem
McGraw-Hill.
books that I think have online licenses, and they are very pricey per student.
Correct. And one of the differences, physics is not a required to graduate class, civics is, and so we have to meet the state standards and the approval situation for those textbooks and the curriculum that we use. That's why we also have a curriculum committee and all of those things. So that's a component in that budgeting for it and then making a cheaper option, if we can find one, is great. But I think we shouldn't delay in budgeting.
No,
for
I
that,
agree
sure.
with you. Not necessarily for this, but going forward, keeping that in
But
mind.
your point is well taken about
Absolutely.
online, options for textbooks and stuff, because finding this in college, I go to buy you got to buy this, and I'm telling my kids, and they're saying, I don't need to buy any of that. They have it for me online, and I was like, oh, okay. I'm like 850 years old, but you clearly know what's going on.
Oh,
Finn.
no, it's true. In a lot of colleges, including the program that I'm in right now, an MA in Curriculum and Instruction, all of my textbooks are embedded into the online platform, which is really great until they close the class and you don't get to keep the text.
Yep.
Right, and you don't get, right.
So then you end up, buying it on Kindle, so you can keep the text. But that's what a lot of schools are going to, so that you don't have those heavy book fees. Like back when we were in school and spent $189 30 years ago on it.
I have finally learned to stop arguing with my children about that.
Okay, so
So
I
are we
put that
looking at- are we looking at adding
33,470.
that
Yeah,
back in?
33,473.
All right.
The sidewalk ceiling, which Matt has talked to us about, is a consideration because we're just punting that down the road. But it has to be done at some point.
Yeah, that's you want to know why? I mean, those of you who have sat in on the Joint Loss Management Committee, headed by Melissa Faslick, we've had a lot less slips and falls outside. That's because we pound those sidewalks with salt and sand and whatever. And when you do that, it does have a tendency to deteriorate them. I remember the middle school, you had to practically replace many sections of that. It's dig it up, re-pour it all over again because it eats away at the sidewalk. So.
And I was just going to make
that's
a point.
we can put it off a year, but it's
Yeah, I was just going to make a point that I know in the past, Matt has come to the Planning and Building Committee before he's come to the school board and then the school board to ask, if here's a project that we put off, but we didn't have as many snow days this year or whatever, so there is, this $40,000, so would the board, approve that we are now able to use that money? So sometimes that does happen, and we do usually give him the ability to use that money at that point in time.
Okay.
Still open to suggestions on what you want to save. Speak up.
Well, I just was going to ask, do we need to plan for a stipend if we want to go the direction of stipending a K-8 director of school counseling, or is that a conversation, a different kind of
No,
conversation?
I do think the safe thing to do is to incorporate a stipend in here. If we have a council position that we feel we want to.
I'm only thinking of that because first of all, we
Yeah.
have counselors, but we also have 2 open positions
That's
for counselors.
correct.
So somebody could step into that, one of those roles, and also be the K-8 director of school counseling.
That's correct.
What would your recommendation for a
Well,
stipend be?
I think I want to be a little bit safe with this one. Let's say $10,000 stipend. That brings us to 309,773, giving us about $34,000 remaining.
I might have missed it, but I thought last meeting we had a conversation about adding an additional ESOL person.
We did make that comment.
So is the overages and cuts, was that adjusted?
Inclusive of that?
You know what, I have to look back at that.
Just because if that's a full-time position and we have 120,000,
Yeah.
then 343 is not what we can add. I just don't remember what the original number was.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, we're gonna have to account for that, because that was new
Okay.
information after our budget was developed.
So we've got to add we have to add a 150 to this list.
Thank you for mentioning that.
I'm so glad you asked that, Finn, because I was under the impression that that was accounted for in what was remaining. Okay, so let's go back. That's going to be, is that going to be 100,000 FTE for an ESOL?
Well, I think so, because I think we're going to need a full-time person.
I was just gonna say, can it be part-time?
Can't be part-time, no, it's gonna have to be
Yeah, our
full-time.
numbers are just,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
So you mentioned
Unless we-
309,773, so what does that 309,773 turn out to be right now?
what items?
No, I mean, this is what we've,
I have a proposal.
Naomi.
I don't know if
ahead.
anybody's going to like it. We had the registrar in there as a keeper, as a full-time
Yep.
employee. What if we swap that with the ESOL, because that was the same
Yep.
dollar amount? So we're still at the same number we were at, and we've got just shy of $40,000 to play with, and we do that for a part-time
Part-time
person to do the
registrar.
registrar.
I love that
Yep.
that's an awesome idea.
Yep.
All right, so I like the numbers. We've got 120 for G&T, 40 for math.
Mm-hmm.
We have 100K for ESOL.
Yep.
We have 2,000 for soccer, 4,300 for G&T supplies, 33,473 for social studies, and 10,000 for K-8 stipend,
Yep.
and then we're talking did you say 40 or 45 for the 40 for the registrar?
It might need to be a little lower to make the math
Yeah, we're gonna
right.
make the math work.
Yeah.
So I think
Be
at that
about-
point, though, I would be careful because you'd want to put in a realistic number for a part-time person. And again,
Yeah.
is there somewhere else that we can pull from
Yeah.
that, or not do the registrar part-time?
I would recommend probably putting in at least 40,000 for part-time registrar, and we can reduce several other accounts commensurately.
Yeah, because we're only talking a difference of $5,200.
Yeah.
Lori, did you have your hand up? Good. Okay. So can you? So these are the things that we're about to propose and vote on, and you're going to make it work. That $5,200 difference
Mm-hmm.
between what we're proposing and other line items to make that work.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll take it out
We'll
of
do that.
Bill's clothing allowance.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to retain. I'm just going to make the motion. I'm going to make a motion that we retain 120,000 FTE position for gifted and talented, a $40,000 part-time position for a math interventionist, $100,000 FTE for ESOL, $2,000 for middle school soccer B team, $4,300 for G&T supplies, $33,473 for social studies civics texts, $10,000 for a proposed stipend to a school counselor for K-8 duties, and $40,000 for a district registrar. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I just have one more thing. So going back to what you said earlier, when we look at the civics text, if we could also just review and see if there could be both online
Yep.
and hard copies.
And that's
because
something-
some students would just say, I just want to have the license and I just want to do it online. So if we could just look at that.
Yeah, as soon as this is
Yeah.
passed, I will talk to Mr. Knight and Steve Clare.
Yes.
And we've done that before with previous texts.
Right, just a blend.
All those in favor, say aye. 500.
Thank you for all the thought that you
Yeah.
put into this.
Really appreciate it, and from start to finish, 8 months later, we finally have a budget.
Yes.
All right. We have this is an old business issue that Lori would like to revisit, and so I'm going to let her make her
So I just want
presentation.
to, at the last board meeting, I just want to reverse my vote to nominate the teachers on continuing contract. It was a procedural thing that I just didn't get the information. That's why I held my vote, but after I had time to read it, I'm all set, so I'm voting in the affirmative.
So
Thank
you can
very
make a
much.
motion to re-vote on that.
Okay.
Go for it. Make the motion.
I make a motion that we accept the teachers on continuing contract and contracts.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor? 500. In your packets is the strategic plan update. It's for preview at this point. At our next meeting, we will have a detailed presentation from our administrators on that. So please take this time and study it and be prepared for those presentations.
May I make one brief comment?
Yes.
Please know that between now and that meeting, 2 weeks from now, there may be a few minor changes. Some of the principals are still just adding a little bit of additional information here and there. So I will present you with the most recent document as soon as I feel it's in a finished state.
Yes, Rachel.
As I was reviewing it, I know a lot of the acronyms. I don't know all of the acronyms. Can we just
An appendix.
Yeah,
An
well,
appendix? Something, yeah.
because we did a glossary for the strategic plan. That's the one thing we tried to do as we went through with the update is make sure that because I'm acronym challenged, and just like I'm flowchart challenged when you have 95 boxes on a flowchart. We'll make sure that we have a glossary with all of the terms. In the very first page, it mentions ELCs. Well, we forgot to put next to that there was essential learning competencies.
That is one of my question marks. ELC question mark.
All right, now, last year I got lots of emails with lots of choices on committee assignments. This year I want this one and whatever else. So we're going to go through this together about the way we did the budget. And we're going to start at the top with the most fun committee ever, and that's Budget Committee. And I've heard from a number of you, and I think I'm going to recommend that the two people who are on this committee alternate meetings.
Yes.
And instead of it just being a backup.
Yes.
So I need volunteers for Budget Committee. Don't all jump at once.
Here's what I'll say. I think it's my turn. I'd be happy to do it.
Okay, Jenna? Who would like to be the alternate?
I don't know. It depends on what else I do.
I know. The problem. I know that.
It's
If I
gonna be
can
your
say
biggest
it's the
commitment.
biggest chunk of
Yeah.
time, can we do the other ones first?
Okay, we can do the other ones first.
Yeah, because I don't mind jumping on if needed. I just need to make sure I have the time.
All
to-
right, so the School Board Association, usually the chair is that and the vice chair is the alternate. Do you want to be the alternate, Lori, for NHSBA
Sure,
delegate?
I can do either one.
CIT committee, Jenna said she would like to stay on that. We need a second member. I'm actually going to throw my name in that one because I haven't served on that one yet, and I, given what I'm currently studying, would really like to be on that committee. School Bus Stop Committee. Naomi, we switched on this last year. Do you want to explain what this committee kind of does and approximately how often they meet?
I was on that committee for a couple of years, and we met approximately never. What it does is if there is an issue with a bus stop that can't be resolved by the bus company and the transportation coordinator working with the district and the parents, the school board might need to get involved. I asked to be removed from it just because I am a school bus driver and it could be a potential conflict of interest. So really anyone could be in there. It's not a heavy lift.
It's on an as
I'll do
needed
it.
basis,
I'll do
so,
it.
yeah.
All right. Professional Development Committee. This is a committee that determines how the professional development money that is used for individual teachers in the MTA contract is spent and then making sure they meet their deadlines and milestones in that.
Can we also have information about like how often it meets?
It's once a month.
Once a month, because I was an alternate once. Not even that sometimes.
Yeah, if
And it's a quick
like a lot of
meeting. It's
people
like
have stuff
30
going on, they'll
minutes
cancel
Zoom
it, but it's generally once a month.
Yeah, it's a Zoom meeting, it's fast.
Okay, Rachel? And an alternate? I'll put myself down as
All
the
right,
alternate.
I was going to say I'll do it if you want.
Planning and Building, Lori would like to stay on that. Wellness Policy Implementation Committee, I'd like to stay on that because we just started meeting again. We had our very first meeting 2 weeks ago, and we're resurrecting that committee, so I'd like to stay on that as part of that process.
Should we have an
Healthcare-
alternate for that one?
There doesn't need to be one because almost all of central office is there. It's a very large committee. Healthcare Cost Containment Committee. That one meets like.
So in the
every other month or
description,
once a quarter.
as I say, in the description, it said it was absorbed by joint loss management and wellness.
Interesting, because I was on it earlier and we don't really cover the same things. Well, we'll just leave we'll leave it then, because if that's what Sandy wrote, then she's the one who's correct on that. All right, now I know this is important to Rachel because she mentioned this. The district parent group needs to be resurrected. So
For
would you
sure.
like me to put you down to, okay? And an alternate?
I'd be happy to be the alternate.
Okay. The Communications Committee, which we desperately need to reactivate, and we did not get a chance to do that this year. I'm happy to make sure that happens, and I need an alternate.
I can do it with you.
Okay. Policy Committee?
I'll stay there.
Okay. And I need a second person?
Nobody wants me on that committee.
I'll be on it. I've been on it with Naomi. We don't, yeah, it's a lot of just proofing. All right. So we have our superintendent search and our assistant superintendent search that needs 3 each.
I'd love to be on the superintendent search.
Okay.
Since it was 3 each with a rotation, does it make sense? There's 2 next year. Does it make more sense to have 2 and 2?
Yep.
And then it's the same 2 people all the time? If nobody's like really wants to be on one or the other.
And remember, when we get to the candidate, the top 3 candidates come to the full board. So
Right. It's just getting the ball rolling.
and it's meeting with those board members meet with the committee of teachers and administrators and parents as well, like we did 2 weeks ago.
And we're going to have to make a decision because before we got Bill, we actually paid a company to do the work, and I wouldn't recommend that. I think it's, what they do is they design what are the qualifications, what are the characteristics. We can do that ourselves.
I mean, I'm happy to be on either one of those. My concern is if it bleeds into budget committee, it might be better for me to be on the superintendent search because that's going to happen first and probably before most
Before
of the budget.
and then I can do assistant.
That would be if that would be all right.
Yep. Change this to 2.
So Lori Rothhouse was on superintendent.
Superintendent. And then for assistant superintendent, me, and I need one other person.
Is that going to have meeting times similar to the one that, that's probably not, can you do it, Rachel? Because that's probably not great for me time-wise. like 3 and 4 p.m. meetings.
If you can't, I'll do it. So why don't you take it, and then if you get stuck, I'll do it.
So we'll make Lori an alternate.
And on that one, if there are particular another board member could step in if need be, if there's
Absolutely.
particular meeting
Absolutely.
conflicts.
It's not like budget committee where we're
Correct.
Yeah, where it's ongoing. All right, athletic advisory committee.
Jen and I can do that.
Well, it's never met. So,
No,
but
but maybe
Lori
we
and
can-
I share a passion for
Yeah,
that particular
so maybe
thing.
we can make it happen.
Maybe we can.
All right, joint loss. It meets once a quarter. Melissa does a great job. Okay. And she almost always has a Zoom option. We meet in person, but she always has a Zoom option for people who need a Zoom. All right, MTA, I've already talked to Melissa about this one, so I'll be on the MTA contract again.
And this should be someone who's going to be on the board for a while, because it's going to be really important for the next generation to handle the next one.
And it's weekly meetings for a couple of months.
What's the time frame of those meetings?
It's pretty intense.
We try, it just depends on the union. So we literally negotiate times and days, week to week. It's never the same day. It's never the same. It's always in the late afternoon or evening. We've had meetings at 4. We've had meetings at 7.
And sometimes they go a long period of time. Sometimes they go smooth,
Sometimes they're
but
just-
sometimes
sometimes
it's a
they're
little
short.
Sometimes it's a
they're
little
not.
bumpy.
This is the one I'm interested in, and is why I didn't jump up and down at the budget committee, because they're both huge time commitments.
They are.
So
I'll put you down.
I don't know how everyone feels about that.
All right. Yeah, MESA 1 and 2 is not for this year, so I'm putting inactive for that. That would be a next year decision. Same with advise and confer.
Yep.
All right, Greater Woods Subcommittee.
Matt
Matt?
goes, but I said if he can't go, I'll be his alternate.
Yeah, I talk with Gage Perry. We usually do a lot of business on the phones. It's kind of an as-needed thing.
Okay.
Greater Woods is the 64 acres that we own in the middle school, and then the 400 acres that abuts it and whatnot, so.
Town Center Committee, Matt, I have you there.
I love that committee. It's awesome. I really do, to be honest with you, yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Can we keep that one the way it is now?
It's once a month. It's once a month, but I'm pretty.
Actually,
I'll serve as the alternate.
I was going to
so
say, if I'm not doing budget, I can flip back to doing that.
All right, and I'll be your alternate. I don't mind being the alternate.
Okay.
So my only concern here is that we still don't
Just
have an
switch us.
alternate for the budget committee. So when we said switching, great. I mean, I go to everyone, but that's just as I've always been concerned about. Always been a lot for that person because it's 2 meetings a week for weeks upon end.
Budget committee?
Yeah.
They only met once a week this last time.
Right, with the board,
Yeah.
with the board
But
meetings.
right,
twice a
which
week.
is why the 2 people who are on it really need to take turns, because if you're doing board meetings and budget committee meetings, it's a lot.
Yes.
Well, I really don't want to be that because I have a lot of meetings as a
Yeah.
chair that are outside of the committees and the MTA on top of that. I do attend a lot, as you. I didn't last year, but this past budget season, I felt the need to be at public comment and to help clarify things. But
You were there a lot.
I don't want to.
Have to.
Have to
I
be
understand
there.
that. And your job as chair is actually a lot, right? So oftentimes the chair takes less and you've already taken more than your fair share. So, I mean, I'm willing to try to be at every single one as long as everyone's willing to take one. If
So
I
why-
can't
I
be
was gonna
there,
say,
it could be a rolling alternate. Just like who can
Yeah,
take it?
why don't we could do that
We
where.
can't, so it's, I'm pretty sure it's by statute, so
Has to be a
you
named
only have a
person.
vote if there's a named rep and a named alternate, just.
Okay.
So
Well, we don't want to give up our
if-
vote.
if I'm the alternate, I might just have to, it might not be
No, we don't have to do it.
like every other, if we can try and work something out.
Yes, or I can try to be as many as I can.
Okay.
And then-
Like, yeah, we
we'll
can try.
work it
Okay.
Okay, thank you. 2 things that are not on here. One is, because it's not an ongoing standing committee, I am going to be on the committee that determines the foresting of that property with town council and trustees trust and on that. So I'm on that committee. It hasn't formed yet. There are a few people who are out of town until later this week. So that hasn't been formally formed yet. Also, Naomi emailed me with an excellent idea, and I'm going to let her share it.
I'm really sorry to add to everybody else's plate, but I was thinking there's all these great events at the various schools that happen throughout the year, like concerts and art shows and award ceremonies. And what does everyone feel about each of us taking a school? In some cases, it would have to be a couple of schools. And I don't think it would be a commitment to go to like all the events because that's a lot, but just to like, you know, be on their mailing lists and watch their social media and show up at events when you can. And for those of us who have parents in the school, I'm assuming we'd like take the ones our kids are at because that's easier, but.
I'm perfectly content taking the high school. I'll take the high school all day long.
And I do go to some high school events, so I can be the alternate, but I'll do Master Cola Elementary because that's where my grandkids go.
Well, we're all going to have to fight over the middle school.
I'm not going to have a kid at the middle school next year. I'll take Thornton's.
Okay.
Yes, I have middle school or high school that I can easily cover, or more easily.
We need an RFS. And wait, did somebody say JMUs? And so
I think you need
RFS, JMUs, and MMS. Rachel, what is your first preference? Middle school.
Middle school would be my first preference.
Jenna, what's your first preference?
I mean, the only kid I'll have school in is the middle school, but that doesn't mean it has to be me. Oh, jeez. I'll only have a kid in the middle school, but that doesn't mean that has to be me. Reed's Ferry would be my last choice, only because it's completely on the other side of town, which makes me sound, again, like I'm 850 years old and I can't drive in the dark past 8 p.m. to the other side of town. But there it is.
I'll be watching the budget committees, and you'll be asleep when it gets to 9.
Okay, I can take RFS. So, the two of you fight over middle school and JMUs.
I mean, I'll take JMUs.
I was going to say, yeah, if we split it up again between the two.
Sure.
Okay.
What are we calling this?
I'm just assigning it as schools at the moment. I mean, I'm going to send you this document, so.
Oh, perfect.
All right. If something comes up, if something needs to change, feel free to reach out to me and we'll work it out. The biggest reason we're doing this is because planning and building and budget are meeting in May. We needed to get those assignments, and I will be emailing Pat for both of those.
Maybe, I guess. I don't know. My kid's birthday. I'll be there.
Okay. Request hire at will. I'll have Bill speak to this and then we will discuss it.
Well, each year, if there is somewhat of an emergency situation, we need to fill a critical position, you have given the superintendent the approval to do that, and that's what seeking again for the next school year, beginning July 1st.
Any comments or questions?
So
Lori.
I would like to say that we would honor the request to hire after the May 20th, 2025 meeting. That gives us 2 meetings in July, in May, and that gives you June.
So just to clarify, this doesn't even go into effect till July 1st.
Right.
So
no, he wants to hire now. He wants to be able to hire in June.
Well, if we need a position for the 2025,
so he's looking for us to say
2026.
June.
Oh, for the
not
20
July.
got it.
So
Yeah,
I'm
from
saying
a-
we hold May and we give him the opportunity in June.
So after,
Yeah.
so what you're saying is you would like this to be after the May meeting. Second meeting.
Right, if that's, okay.
Okay, so make the motion.
I make the motion that we honor the request to hire at will after the May 20th, 2025 meeting. for all professional staff, excluding directors and principals, I think, right? We'd like to meet them.
Correct. Do I have a second? Second by Rachel. Any discussion? All those in favor? 500.
Thank you.
Is there any other new business? Lori?
I just want to let everyone know, so now I'm a senior citizen, so I got the senior citizen update, and Trevor Knight from the high school has put out that the seniors are going to be doing senior service projects in May. So if any person in the community would like to have our seniors, they are available for 3 hours. There's forms that you fill out, and the students will come and do all kinds of community service for you, which is a wonderful service that the Merrimack High School does for the community.
That's awesome. Also, I'd like to give Finn an opportunity here to do his student update.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I apologize for my tardiness. We are in the middle of AP testing, starting to wind down for the year, so there's a lot of nervous buzz from seniors and excitement from the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors who are going to get the summer off. Again, we are in the middle of our spring sports, and I think the last day of Grant State Challenge is coming up, so that team has done really well, and I'm excited to see the conclusion. But other than that, I don't have a ton of news.
I proctored my first AP exam today.
Ooh, how'd it go?
Well, I love how now that it's all digital, that the proctor instructions do not align with how the program actually functions. And so, of course, I was working with the director of guidance, and it was a learning curve for her. It's the first time she has been the organizational leader for the AP exams at Londonderry. And so we did a test run today, and so I'm proctoring 12 more exams this week and next.
Well, good for you. I took my first today, and I agree with you. The digital instructions are a little...
I think the big thing was the instructions say that when you get to the end of section 1, you can take your break, but the screen doesn't do that. Yep. It counts down to the 90 minutes, and then everybody goes to the break screen at once. So that was just like a major glaring error in their instructions. So that was just one example. But congratulations. What subject did you do it in?
It was AP Microeconomics.
Okay.
So lots of fun.
Oh, one of my favorite classes. All right. We will go on to approval of the revised Title I Parent Involvement in Education Policy. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve that policy.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Rachel?
Yes, I'm so sorry. As I was reading through it again, there was just some sentences and words grammatically that just didn't flow to me. So I don't know the best way to address that.
What specifically?
There's a bunch.
Give me the first one.
Okay, first one, it would be, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth line down. I'll start in the fourth line up at the start of the sentence. The education of children is viewed as a cooperative effort among the parents, school, and community, other family members involved in supporting the child's development and education. So I'm just wondering if like the and has to go, so if it's school,
before
community,
other.
Yeah, before other. The next one is the next paragraph. Pursuant to the federal law, the district will jointly develop instead of develop jointly and agree to distribute. The goal of this policy, number 1, I don't know what families' funds of knowledge means.
It's a way of legally talking about background knowledge, experience, education.
Should it be wealth of knowledge?
That's exactly what I was
Should it be wealth of knowledge? I knew what it meant, but you're right. It does sound weird.
I figured I knew what it meant.
We'd have to, again,
legally, if that's
the
a legal
red
thing,
letters
that's fine.
are the attorneys,
Yep.
so we just have to double check that.
Yep, that's fine. Number 4, I develop and capacity of families. Maybe develop the capacity.
I'm embarrassed I didn't catch that one.
I didn't either, and I should have.
Maybe that's not too much. Next one, page 2 of 3, number 3, build the schools and parents' capacity for strong. Is it build their connection? I don't know how you...
No, so it's talking about developing programs, experiences, and opportunities in the schools and the parents for strong family and community engagement.
Okay.
It's kind of a school term, so
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
Okay. I guess that's all. Maybe it wasn't too much. When I read through it, I thought it was more. Maybe I didn't strike as many things. Thank you.
So I guess we will hold.
Well, you can approve it as amended.
I was just about to say, was
Okay.
I the original motion? Because I can amend my motion to approve the policy, incorporating those edits
You know,
that
because
Rachel just said.
I don't think any of the changes are considered material
Material.
from a legal perspective.
So do I have a second?
I second.
All right. All those in favor of the amended motion? 500.
Good, thank you.
Approval of April 21st, 2025 non-public minutes. Do you have a motion to accept? Motion made by Rachel. Do you have a second? Second by Naomi. Any discussion? All those in favor? 500. Now we have some fun stuff. Matt.
Yeah, I haven't had a few of these in a long time. This is the acceptance of gifts and grants under $20,000. It says under $20,000 because anything under 20 grand can be done at a regular board meeting. If it's $20,000 or over, it has to be published in a paper of general circulation. It has to be a public hearing, everything like that. In fact, little trivia, I remember writing some of this language before it went into law years ago in a law office in Concord before we went next door to testify against, for it. So it's interesting. The first one we have is the Health Trust to Merrimack School District in the amount of $1,500. This is a gift that's kind of an annual gift that the Health Trust gives to us to use for worksite health and safety activities to benefit the employees. And then we have an anonymous donation. We have a homeless relief fund that was started around 10 years ago, and it had dipped down to around $2,000. So here's another $2,000 from that anonymous donor to replenish it back up to a total of around $4,000. And we thank both the anonymous donor and the Health Trust for these donations.
Do I have a motion to accept the Health Trust donation?
I make a motion that we would accept the Health Trust donation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 500. Do I have a motion for the acceptance of the anonymous donor to the Merrimack School District for $2,000?
I can make a motion to accept.
I second.
All those in favor? 500. Consent agenda. Amy's not here, so we'll turn it over to Bill.
Yes, and regrettably, we are losing one of our school district's MVPs. Many of you, if not all of you, know Angela Mazlanka. Angela will be moving to upstate New York to be closer to her parents. She has worked here and distinguished herself with just outstanding work in all aspects of school operations. There is nothing that Angela has been unwilling to do, to try, and to accomplish. And we are a better school system for the 18 years that she has provided to us of just absolutely outstanding service, and we wish her very well.
Do I have a motion to accept her resignation?
I'll make a motion that we accept with regret her resignation.
Second.
All those in favor? 500. Educator nominations. Nominations.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We have 3 nominations, all filling open vacancies. Jeffrey Frankowicz, social studies teacher at Merrimack High School. Allison McInnes, elementary classroom teacher at Reed's Ferry, that's a replacement. And Julia Perry, special education teacher at the upper elementary school.
Do I have a motion to accept the nominations?
I make a motion that we accept the nominations as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? 500. Administrator and nominations.
Yes, we annually bring in the administrative staff for nominations. I recommend everyone on the list to you.
Do I have a motion to accept?
Yes, I make a motion that we accept.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 500.
Thank you.
Committee reports. Doubt we had any over April break. I just want to update the public that the search for the interim assistant superintendent position committee did meet and interviewed a number of candidates. That search is still open and ongoing. Correspondence. Jenna.
I spoke on the phone with 2 parents in regards to the budget cuts. I actually also talked to 1 staff member. I'm sorry, 2 staff members.
Lori?
Same thing, a couple of parents on budget cuts and a concerned parent that I directed.
I had a couple parents about budget cuts and a parent with a disciplinary issue that I forwarded to the correct place.
And I had a couple parents too with budgetary cuts.
And I had numerous on the budget, also some other parental concerns that were forwarded or I spoke with directly and then provided the pathway for them to find a solution. And I had one request asking about when graduation was. Mm-hmm. Comments from the board? With that, I will open up the floor to anybody who might walk through the door to make public comments on agenda items. This is a time when the public can comment on specific items we've discussed in this meeting, and you're always welcome to come speak to the board, state your name and address, and students never have to state their address. And I'll leave it open for a little bit in case somebody does walk in the door, which has happened. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? 500. Thank you and good night.